Okinawa, September 1965. The call that brings Bruce Lee to this island arrives on a Tuesday afternoon at his apartment in Oakland, 3 weeks before he boards a military transport flight arranged by a man he has never met. The caller says his name is Corporal Danny Jarrett, 22 years old, stationed at Camp Hansen in northern Okinawa. Jarrett explains he has been practicing Wing Chun for 8 months, using a manual he ordered from Bruce's school advertisement in the back of Black Belt magazine, and he has a special request. The request is straightforward. Jarrett's unit runs a martial arts club, about 40 or 50 men who train together 3 evenings a week in the base gymnasium. They have heard about Bruce Lee through magazine coverage of his Long Beach appearance last year and from the few Green Hornet episodes that reached the Armed Forces television network. Jarrett wants to know if Bruce would consider flying to Okinawa to give a weekend demonstration for the club. Travel costs covered by donations the members have already collected, lodging on base for 2 or 3 days. Bruce agrees within 4 minutes of the call starting. He says yes because he is 24 years old and has spent the last year constructing something he believes in completely, yet he has had almost no real chances to present it to people who actually engage in combat. The Long Beach event brought attention, but attention from martial arts magazine editors is not the same as genuine respect from men who use their skills in dangerous situations. Military fighters operate differently. They care little for philosophy or film careers or press coverage. They care about whether a technique works when someone is truly trying to hurt you. Bruce wants to stand before those men and demonstrate what he has created. He wants them to witness it and acknowledge its reality. What Bruce does not know, what Danny Jarrett has deliberately omitted, is that the demonstration he agreed to is not what actually awaits him on the other side of the Pacific. Jarrett made the call, but the idea did not originate with him. The idea belongs to Master Sergeant Russell Vance, 34 years old, 6'2", 229 pounds. He is the head instructor of Camp Hansen's Karate Club and the reigning Forces Karate champion for the entire Pacific Theater Command. Vance holds a 5th-degree black belt in Okinawan Goju Ryu, earned not through abbreviated military certification programs that produce most base-level black belts, but through 7 years of direct training under a local Okinawan master named Taguchi. Taguchi accepted exactly 1 American student per decade into his personal instruction. Vance's competition record stands at 34 wins and 0 losses, with 22 of those victories ending before the second round. He has not been scored upon cleanly in his last 15 bouts. Vance did not ask Jarrett to invite Bruce Lee to Okinawa for a demonstration. He asked Jarrett to invite Bruce Lee to Okinawa so that Vance could dismantle him in front of every serious fighter on the base. The reason is specific and documented in a letter Vance sent to 3 other military karate instructors across Pacific Command 2 weeks before Jarrett made the phone call. The letter runs 4 paragraphs long. Its central argument is that Bruce Lee built his reputation on magazine tricks and television choreography, that his so-called fighting system has never been tested against anyone with genuine combat training, and that his rising fame actively harms the reputation of real martial arts by convincing young servicemen that flashy demonstrations equal actual fighting ability. Vance's letter ends with a promise. He intends to correct this publicly on their mat, in front of their men, so no ambiguity remains about what is genuine and what is performance. The 200 men sitting in that gymnasium when Bruce arrives are not there for a demonstration. They are there to witness an execution. Every one of them has been told in advance what is actually going to occur. Every one of them has been instructed by Vance to say nothing to the visitor upon his arrival. The mat has been set to regulation competition size. A referee has been assigned. Scoring equipment has been prepared. Medical personnel will be present. Bruce Lee is flying across the Pacific Ocean to step into a room designed specifically to destroy him. And the man who built this trap is currently the most dangerous unarmed fighter in the United States military. Bruce has no idea. Bruce eats alone in the mess hall on Thursday evening. The room seats 60 tables, most occupied by groups of servicemen eating in clusters of 4 or 5. Their conversations fill the space with the low roar of men who spend their days together and have no secrets left to keep. Bruce sits at a table near the east wall with a tray of unfamiliar food and a glass of water. He is the only civilian in the room. He is also the only non-white person there. He notices the glances within the first 2 minutes. Not exactly hostile, but more specific. Men looking at him and then looking away too quickly, the particular behavior of people who know something about you that you do not know about yourself. 3 tables away, a group of 5 men in training gear glance in his direction, and one of them says something that makes the others laugh. They do not look away when Bruce meets their eyes. They hold contact with the specific confidence of men who believe they are watching someone walk toward his own destruction. Bruce eats. He does not react to the glances or the laughter, but he catalogues them as he catalogues everything, as information filed away, waiting for enough context to become useful. At 8:40 p.m., a young man appears at the edge of Bruce's table. Not Jarrett, someone else, younger, maybe 19, with a fresh military haircut and hands that haven't yet developed the calluses from years of striking practice. He stands there for 4 seconds without speaking, shifting weight from one foot to the other before pulling out the chair opposite Bruce and sitting down without invitation. "You need to leave," the young man says. His voice barely rises above a whisper, his eyes fixed on the table rather than on Bruce's face. "Tonight, before Saturday, you need to get on a transport back to the mainland and not come back here." Bruce sets down his fork. "Why?" "Because what's happening Saturday isn't a demonstration." The young man's hands press flat on the table, as if trying to keep them from trembling. "It's a fight, a real one, and the man you're fighting has been preparing for it for 6 weeks. The mess hall noise continues unchanged around them. Nobody at the surrounding tables appears to notice this conversation, though Bruce suspects several of them know exactly what is being said. "Who is he?" Bruce asks. "Master Sergeant Vance, head of the karate club, Pacific Theater champion. He's been telling everyone on this base for a month that you're a fraud, and he's going to prove it on Saturday in front of every fighter in the unit." The young man finally looks up, and his eyes carry something Bruce recognizes immediately. Fear, not for himself, for Bruce. "Sir, I've watched Vance fight. I've seen what he does to people. He put a 3rd-degree black belt in the hospital in Guam last year, broke his orbital bone in the first exchange. The man couldn't see out of his left eye for 2 months." Bruce is quiet for a moment. The mess hall lights buzz faintly overhead. The fluorescent tubes cast everything in flat institutional light that removes shadows and warmth equally. "How many people know?" Bruce asks. "Everyone, every fighter on this base knows. They've known for weeks. They were told not to say anything to you when you arrived." The young man pushes back from the table slightly, his nervousness increasing. "I'm not supposed to be talking to you right now if Vance finds out I said anything." "He won't," Bruce says. "What's your name?" "Private Reeves. I'm nobody. I joined the karate club 3 months ago. I'm the lowest rank in the room, but I read your article in Black Belt last year about respect between martial artists, and I thought," he stops, swallows, "I thought someone should tell you what you're walking into." Bruce looks at Private Reeves for a long time, then he picks up his fork and resumes eating. "Thank you for telling me," Bruce says. "I'm not leaving." Reeves stares at him. "Sir, did you hear what I heard everything you said. A man I've never met has spent 6 weeks building a trap designed to humiliate me in front of 200 people. He's broken bones. He's a champion. He outweighs me by nearly 100 pounds. Bruce takes a bite, chews, swallows. "I'm not leaving." "Why?" Reeves asks, the word coming out almost desperate. Bruce looks at him with an expression that carries no bravado, no performance. Nothing designed to impress, just clarity, because this is exactly what I built it for. Friday morning, Bruce wakes at 5:00 a.m. and walks to the base gymnasium alone. He told Jarrett he wanted to inspect the space before Saturday to plan his demonstration. Jarrett gave him directions and did not offer to accompany him, another absence that carries meaning. The gymnasium is unlocked. Bruce pushes through the double doors and stops 3 steps inside. The room is not configured for a demonstration. A full competition mat covers the center of the floor, regulation size, freshly laid, the kind that takes hours to assemble properly. Around it, 200 folding chairs arranged in precise rows, angled inward like an amphitheater. At the north end, a table with 3 chairs behind it, a judge's panel. On the table, scoring flags, a stopwatch, medical tape, a clipboard with papers Bruce cannot read from this distance. He walks to the judge's table and looks down at the clipboard. The top sheet is about card, 2 names printed in military block letters. The first name, Sergeant R. Vance. The second name, Mr. B. Lee. 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, full contact. Bruce picks up the bout card and reads it completely. Weight class, open, rule set, modified military karate, strikes to the head and body permitted, takedowns permitted, ground fighting limited to 5 seconds. Victory conditions, knockout, referee stoppage, points decision or submission, medical officer required present. He sets the card back on the clipboard exactly as he found it. He stands there for 11 seconds looking at the mat, the chairs, the judge's table, the complete architecture of a trap built specifically for him by a man who believes he is already defeated. Then Bruce steps onto the mat. He removes his shoes at the edge and walks to the center in bare feet. He stands there alone in the empty gymnasium at 5:20 in the morning, looking at the space from the position where he will be standing tomorrow night, when 200 men watch him face something they believe will end him. He does not look afraid. He does not look angry. He looks like a man measuring distance. He trains for the next 90 minutes alone, no one watching, moving through sequences that fill the empty gymnasium with the sound of fabric cutting air and bare feet pivoting on canvas. At 6:50, he hears the exterior door open. He stops moving and turns toward the sound. A man fills the doorway. Not Jarrett, not Reeves, someone else entirely. Russell Vance is larger in person than the description Reeves gave suggested. Not just tall, not just heavy, but constructed differently from other large men. His weight sits across his frame in a way that speaks to specific, deliberate development rather than natural bulk. His forearms are wrapped in training calluses, so thick they look like leather. His neck is wider than Bruce's thigh. He stands in the doorway with his arms crossed, wearing a white gi with a belt so faded it has turned from black to dark gray through years of washing, sweat, and use. He looks at Bruce, standing in the center of his mat. The expression on his face is not anger. It is not the theatrical hostility of a man performing dominance. It is something quieter and considerably more dangerous. Certainty, the absolute unshakable belief that what he is looking at is beneath him, something he will remove from his space tomorrow night, the way you remove an insect from a windowsill. They look at each other across the length of the gymnasium for 6 full seconds. "You found the mat," Vance says. His voice fills the space without effort, a deep baritone that carries the way sound carries across open water. "I found more than the mat," Bruce says. Vance uncrosses his arms. He walks 3 steps into the gymnasium and stops. The distance between them is 40 feet. "Then you know what tomorrow is." "I know what you think tomorrow is," Bruce says. Something shifts in Vance's expression, a micro-movement around the eyes that Bruce reads instantly. Not surprise, Vance expected Bruce to find out eventually something else. Recalculation, the specific adjustment of a man who planned for his opponent to arrive scared and is now looking at someone who is not scared. "If you know," Vance says, "and you're still here, then you're either stupid or you believe your own magazine articles." "There's a third option," Bruce says. "What's that?" "That I've been looking for someone like you for a long time, and you just spent 6 weeks making sure I didn't have to." Vance stares at him for 4 seconds. Then he turns and walks out of the gymnasium without another word. The door closes behind him with a sound that echoes through the empty room like the period at the end of a sentence that hasn't yet been finished. Saturday, the hours move differently on a military base when everyone knows something is coming. Bruce spends the morning in his guest quarters, writing in his notebook, eating alone in the mess hall at a table that now has a permanent radius of empty chairs around it. Word has spread completely. The civilian who was supposed to serve as a demonstration dummy for Vance's public lesson in the superiority of real fighting has discovered the trap and has not left. This information moves through Camp Hansen the way weather moves through a valley, touching everything, changing the pressure in every room it enters. By mid-afternoon, Bruce walks to the small base library and sits in the reading room for 2 hours. He does not read. He sits with his eyes closed, his breathing measured, his hands resting on his knees. 3 servicemen enter the library during those 2 hours. Each one sees him, stops, and leaves without selecting a book. They will tell others what they saw. A small Chinese man sitting perfectly still in a military library with his eyes closed, 6 hours before a fight that everyone on this base believes will hospitalize him. Not packing, not shadow boxing, not doing anything that looks like preparation, just sitting there like a man waiting for a bus. At 5:30 p.m., Jarrett knocks on Bruce's door. His face is pale. He cannot maintain eye contact for more than 2 seconds. "I need to tell you something," Jarrett says. "You don't," Bruce says. "I already know." Jarrett's mouth opens and closes. His hands are shaking slightly. "I'm sorry, he made me do it. He said if I didn't make the call, he'd have me transferred to a unit in." "Danny," Bruce's voice is calm. "It doesn't matter why. What matters is what happens at 7:00. Is there anything about tonight that I don't know yet?" Jarrett swallows and looks at the floor. "He changed the rules this morning." Bruce goes still. "Changed them how?" Original rules were modified military karate. 3 rounds, 3 minutes, point system. Jarrett's voice is barely audible now. "This morning, Vance went to the referee and told him the rules are now continuous fighting. No rounds, no points. Fight continues until knockout, submission, or referee stoppage only. No time limit." The information settles into the small concrete room like smoke, filling a closed space. No rounds means no rest. No points means damage doesn't accumulate toward a decision, but toward unconsciousness. No time limit means a larger, stronger fighter can press forward indefinitely, using his weight advantage to grind a smaller opponent down over minutes that have no end. These are not competition rules. These are the rules of a man who wants to break someone without the structure of sport preventing him. "What did the referee say?" Bruce asks. "The referee is Sergeant Chen. He's in Vance's unit. He said whatever Vance wants." Jarrett pauses. "Sir, these aren't fair rules. They're designed to." "I know what they're designed to do," Bruce says. He is quiet for a moment. Then something happens in his expression that Jarrett does not expect. Bruce smiles. Not bravado, not performance. A genuine small smile that touches his eyes and carries the specific quality of a man who has just been given exactly what he wanted. "This is better," Bruce says. Jarrett stares at him. "Better." Points mean nothing to me. Rounds mean nothing to me. A 3-minute timer means his corner can save him by surviving. Bruce opens his closet and removes a plain black t-shirt and dark training pants. No timer means the only way this ends is when one of us decides it's over, and that decision won't be mine. Jarrett watches Bruce change clothes with the expression of a man watching someone calmly dress for his own funeral. "He outweighs you by almost 100 pounds, Jarrett says. "His weight is his plan," Bruce says, pulling the shirt over his head. "The rules were his plan. The trap was his plan. Everything about tonight is built around the assumption that more force applied over more time against a smaller body produces a predictable result." He tucks the shirt into his waistband and rolls his neck once. "That assumption is what I'm here to break." At 6:45, Bruce walks out of his quarters and turns left toward the gymnasium. The sun is dropping behind the western buildings, casting long shadows across the gravel paths between barracks. Ahead of him, visible through the gymnasium's open double doors, the glow of overhead lights and the movement of bodies filling chairs. 200 men are already inside, waiting. He walks toward the light. The gymnasium falls silent the moment Bruce steps through the doors. Not gradually, instantly. 200 men who were talking, laughing, shifting in their chairs, all stop at once. The sound cuts off like a switch has been thrown. Every head turns toward the entrance. Every pair of eyes finds the same target. A man in a black t-shirt and dark pants, 135 pounds, walking alone into a room built to destroy him. The chairs are full, every seat taken. Men standing along the back wall 3 deep. Bruce registers all of it in a single sweep. The competition mat in the center, the judge's table at the north end, the medical officer sitting in a folding chair with a kit bag at his feet. And at the far side of the mat, already standing in position, already wearing his gi, already warmed up and waiting with his arms crossed and his chin raised, the absolute stillness of a predator who has been watching the door for the last 20 minutes. Russell Vance. Under the gymnasium's overhead lights, he looks even larger than he did in the doorway yesterday morning. The white gi stretches across his frame in a way that makes the fabric look thin. His belt, that faded dark gray strip of cloth representing 7 years under Taguchi, is tied with the specific tightness of a man who has no intention of this lasting long enough for it to come loose. Bruce walks to the mat's edge. He does not pause. He does not scan the crowd for friendly faces, because there are none. He does not look for Reeves or Jarrett. He removes his shoes, steps onto the canvas, and walks to the center. The distance between them closes to 8 feet. Vance looks down at him. The height difference is immediate and stark under the flat overhead light. Bruce's head reaches Vance's chin. Vance's shoulders extend 6 inches past Bruce's on either side. The visual is not a fight. It is a mismatch. Every man in this room sees the same thing. A large, dangerous, undefeated champion standing across from someone who looks like he wandered in from a different building by accident. Corporal Chen steps between them. He does not make traditional announcements, no introduction of fighters, no stating of rules. He simply looks at both men, raises his hand, and says one word: begin. Vance does not move. He stands there, arms still crossed, looking at Bruce with that same expression of absolute certainty, letting the silence stretch, letting every man in the room see that he is so unconcerned by what stands before him that he will not even uncross his arms to begin. 5 seconds pass. 10 seconds. The gymnasium is so quiet that the sound of the fluorescent lights above becomes audible, a thin electrical hum that fills the space the way gas fills a sealed room. At 14 seconds, Vance uncrosses his arms and speaks. "Whenever you're ready, movie star." Bruce does not respond to the words. He is not listening to words. He is watching Vance's body the way he watches every body, reading the architecture beneath the posture, identifying the loading patterns, the weight distribution, the signature tensions that live in a fighter's frame like fingerprints pressed into muscle. And in those 14 seconds of standing still, he has already found 3. Vance's left hip carries his weight a half-inch forward of center. His right shoulder sits higher than his left by a fraction most people would never notice. And his breathing pattern, the specific rhythm of his inhale and exhale, telegraphs his transition from stillness to movement with a gap of nearly a full second between the deepening of breath and the initiation of technique. 3 letters written in Vance's body announcing everything before it happens. Bruce moves first, not forward, not backward, laterally, a single step to his right that changes the angle between them by 15 degrees, a small movement that should mean nothing, but it places Bruce directly on the line of Vance's left hip imbalance, the exact position where the bigger man's forward weight commitment becomes a structural flaw rather than a fighting stance. Vance's eyes track the movement. Something shifts in his expression for the first time, not alarm, not yet, but recognition that the man in front of him just did something intentional that he cannot immediately categorize, something that did not come from any system he has spent 7 years studying under Taguchi, something from outside. "Interesting," Vance says, and unchambers his rear hand from his hip. "The fight has started. Neither man has thrown a technique, but it has started." Vance attacks the way a wall falls, not fast in the way Bruce is fast, but with a mass and inevitability that makes speed almost irrelevant. His first technique is a front kick aimed at Bruce's midsection, thrown with the specific Goju Ryu chamber that keeps the knee high and the hips squared, generating force not from snap, but from the drive of 229 pounds moving forward behind a single extended leg. It is a technique designed not merely to strike, but to occupy space, to push a smaller man backward, to establish territory. Bruce's body disappears from the kick's path the way a curtain parts in wind. No block, no retreat, a rotation of his center that moves his torso 3 inches to the right while his feet remain planted, letting the kick pass through the space his body occupied a tenth of a second ago. His right hand, touches Vance's extended calf as it passes. A tap, nothing more. The lightest possible contact on exposed muscle, delivered not to damage, but to communicate a single piece of information. I was here. You didn't know. Vance retracts the kick and resets. His expression has not changed visibly, but his breathing has shifted one beat faster than before he launched. His body is recalculating. The first technique was supposed to push Bruce backward, establish distance, begin the process of grinding the smaller man into exhaustion against the pressure of continuous forward movement. Instead, it passed through nothing and was touched in transit by a hand he did not see move. He comes again, faster this time. A combination, front kick followed immediately by reverse punch, the same sequence that broke a man's orbital bone in Guam. The kick arrives first, aimed at the same midsection target, and behind it the punch is already loading, Vance's right hip beginning its rotation before the kick has even completed its extension. A combination designed so that avoiding the kick places you directly in the path of the punch. Every opponent who has slipped Vance's kick in the last 5 years has been caught by the follow-up. Every single one. Bruce does not slip the kick. He steps forward into it, closing the distance so rapidly that the kick has not yet reached full extension. When Bruce's body passes inside its arc, the punch, already committed, already rotating, already carrying 229 pounds of trained force toward where Bruce's head should be, arrives at a target that is no longer there. Bruce is inside Vance's guard now, occupying the space between his arms where no technique can reach, where mass becomes a prison rather than a weapon because there is nothing to hit and no room to generate force. Bruce's open palm touches Vance's sternum. Lightly, the same communicative contact as before, not a strike, a message. The gymnasium has stopped breathing. 200 men frozen in their chairs, watching something they cannot process. Their champion just threw his most devastating combination at full speed and full commitment. And the man he is trying to destroy walked through it the way you walk through a door that someone forgot to close. Vance shoves Bruce away from his center with both hands, not a technique, a reflex, the instinctive response of a man who has found something too close to him that should not be there. Bruce absorbs the shove by moving with it, riding the force backward 4 feet and resettling into his stance without losing balance. For the first time in the fight, Vance's face shows something other than certainty. It shows the specific expression of a man whose blueprint has just failed twice in 8 seconds, and who does not have a third plan prepared. "How are you doing that?" Vance says. The words come out before he can stop them. The first uncontrolled thing he has done since Bruce entered this gymnasium. He did not mean to ask. The question escaped from the same place that his shoving reflex came from, somewhere below conscious strategy, somewhere honest. Bruce does not answer. He resets his position, 8 feet of distance, hands floating at chest height, the same stance he began with, unchanged, untouched, his breathing carrying the same rhythm it held when he walked through the doors 4 minutes ago. Vance's chest is rising faster now, not from damage, neither man has been hurt from something else. The specific cardiovascular response of a body whose nervous system has registered threat from a source it cannot predict. His training did not prepare him for this. 7 years under Taguchi did not include a chapter on what to do when everything you throw passes through a ghost. He attacks a third time, and this time something different happens. It occurs in the space between one breath and the next, a decision made not by his conscious mind, but by something deeper, something animal, the part of a fighter that takes over when trained strategy has failed and survival instinct replaces discipline. He does not throw another kick. He does not chamber another punch from his hip. He drops his weight low, extends both arms forward, and drives at Bruce with the raw forward momentum of a 229-pound man trying to grab, clinch, smother, to use his body as a weapon that cannot be slipped because it occupies too much space to move around. It is the most honest thing Vance has done all night, and it is the moment Bruce has been waiting for. Bruce does not move sideways. He does not retreat. He drops his own weight by 4 inches, bending his knees without bending his back. And as Vance's arms reach for him, Bruce's right hand finds the inside of Vance's left wrist, not grabbing, gidding, redirecting 229 pounds of committed forward momentum along a line 2 degrees off from its intended path. 2 degrees, the difference between collision and empty air. Vance's body passes beside Bruce rather than through him. His own weight carries him 3 feet past where Bruce was standing, his arms closing on nothing, his balance committed forward with no target to absorb the force he generated. For a fraction of a second, less than half a beat, Russell Vance is moving through space with his back partially turned to a man he cannot see. In that fraction, Bruce strikes. Not with a punch, not with anything Vance would recognize from any system he has studied. Bruce's right foot finds the back of Vance's left knee with a short, precise kick that carries almost no power but applies force at the exact angle where the joint cannot support weight. Vance's leg folds, not because the kick was hard, but because it was accurate. His own 229 pounds do the rest, pulling him downward along the line of a knee that can no longer hold him. Russell Vance hits the mat on one knee. His left hand slaps the canvas to catch himself. He is not hurt, nothing is broken, nothing is torn, but he is on the ground on one knee with Bruce Lee standing behind him, untouched. And 200 men are watching this happen in complete silence. The gymnasium does not make a sound. Not a gasp, not a murmur, nothing. 200 military-trained fighters sitting in absolute frozen stillness, watching their undefeated champion on one knee on a mat he has owned for 3 years, put there by a man who weighs 94 pounds less than him and has not been touched once since the fight began. Vance gets up fast, spinning to face Bruce as he rises, his guard coming up instinctively. His weight resettles into a stance that for the first time tonight does not look like Goju Ryu. It looks like nothing. It looks like a man standing in whatever position his body found when it stopped thinking about style and started thinking about survival. Bruce is standing exactly where he was. Same distance, same floating hands, same breathing rhythm. He has not pursued. He has not pressed the advantage. He simply demonstrated something and then stepped back to let Vance experience what it means. "It's 3, Bruce says. His voice is quiet, meant only for Vance, too low for the back rows to hear. Your kick told me where it was going before it left your hip. Your combination told me its sequence before the second technique launched. And your tackle told me you had stopped fighting me and started running from what you couldn't understand." He pauses. "Do you want to continue finding out what else I can see, or do you want to stop and let me show you why I can see it?" Vance stares at him. His chest is heaving now, not from physical output, which has been minimal, but from something metabolic, chemical, the specific physiological response of a nervous system processing information it has no framework to categorize. His fists are still raised. His weight is still forward. Every line of his body says fight, but his eyes say something different. His eyes say, "What are you?" 15 seconds pass. The gymnasium counts them in held breath. 200 men watching their champion stand across from a man half his size, fists raised, body ready, and somehow unable to move forward. Vance lowers his hands. "Show me," he says. The gymnasium holds its breath. 200 men have watched the strongest Pacific Theater champion kneel on one knee, untouched by damage, but completely disarmed by something none of them can name. Bruce steps back, not away back. He creates exactly 8 feet of distance, the same measurement he has maintained since the first second of this encounter. His breathing has not changed. His shirt is dry. His hands hang open at his sides, fingers relaxed, palms facing slightly forward. A posture that communicates a single message: I am not finished, but I am not threatening. Vance rises. His left knee holds. No injury, no pain, only the knowledge that his body moved where another man decided it would move, and he could not prevent it. "Your system is not broken," Bruce says. His voice carries across the silent gym without effort. "Your system is complete. That is the problem." Vance stands fully upright. His fists do not reform. For the first time in 7 years of Goju Ryu training under Taguchi, his hands remain open. "A complete system believes it has no gaps," Bruce continues, "so it never looks for them. You trained every technique to its maximum. Your kick generates force that most men cannot absorb. Your reverse punch has ended fights before the opponent understood it was coming. Your grapple works against anyone within your weight range." He pauses, 1 second, 2. but I am not within your weight range. I am not within your system's assumptions. And tonight, every tool you own failed. Not because the tools are weak, but because they were built for an opponent who fights the way you expect. Vance's chest rises, falls. His eyes have not left Bruce's face since he stood. "What do I do?" Vance asks. 3 words, the shortest sentence he has spoken all week. Bruce smiles, not mockery, recognition. "You stop completing the system. You leave one door open. You train the space between techniques. The fraction of a second where your body transitions from one movement to the next. That is where I live. That is where anyone faster or smaller or less predictable will find you." Silence 4 seconds, 6, 8. Then Corporal Chen steps forward. His whistle stays in his pocket. There is nothing to officiate, no knockout, no submission, no stoppage. The fight ended without ending, or perhaps it ended the moment Vance said, "Show me." Chen looks at both men. He does not raise a hand. He does not declare a winner. "Is this over?" he asks. Bruce looks at Vance. Vance nods once. "It is over." The crowd does not cheer. 200 military-trained men file out in near silence, speaking in low voices, replaying what they witnessed. No one uses the word fight. No one can agree on what they saw. 3 men will write letters home describing the evening. None of the letters will match. Vance finds Bruce outside the gymnasium 40 minutes later. The Okinawa night air is 22 degrees Celsius, thick with humidity. Insects pulse in the darkness beyond the floodlights. "I spent 6 weeks planning to break you in front of my unit," Vance says, no apology in his voice. Statement of fact. "I know," Bruce says. "Why did you come?" Bruce pulls his leather notebook from his back pocket. He opens it to a page dated 3 days earlier, Thursday, the morning after his arrival. One line is written in blue ink. "A man who builds a trap reveals the shape of his own cage." Vance reads it twice. He closes the notebook and hands it back. "Will you be here tomorrow morning?" Vance asks. 6 o'clock, Bruce says. "Bring your gi, leave your system at the door." 14 months later, a letter arrives at Bruce Lee's Los Angeles apartment. No return address inside. A single photograph, Russell Vance in a plain black t-shirt. No gi, no belt, no rank, teaching 8 Marines on a gymnasium floor. Their stances are irregular. No 2 bodies are shaped the same way. No one is mirroring the instructor. On the back of the photograph, one sentence in neat block letters: "I left the door open. They're walking through it." Bruce pins the photograph above his training mirror in the Chinatown studio. It stays there until 1973. Karate changed because someone stopped believing his system had no walls.